Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we really tear into the sources you give us. We pull out the key insights, the stuff that surprises you, maybe makes you think a bit differently. Today we're looking at Rick Glassman. He's a comedian, actor, writer, director, a multi-hyphenate, really. And his career path is fascinating. It's kind of a roadmap, isn't it? From stand-up ambition to these really personal and acclaimed acting roles.
Absolutely. Glassman's journey is, well, it's all about the pivots. It kicks off with that classic comedy dream, then moves into the whole network sitcom world. But then things take this really profound turn after a personal diagnosis he received as an adult. So our mission today in this deep dive is basically to track that evolution. How did that self-discovery shape his work? How did it lead to these incredibly authentic roles in Hollywood? It's like he turned this private knowledge into a real professional advantage.
Yeah, and we've got a good stack of sources here. Lots of biographical stuff, career milestones, press coverage, especially around those big recent roles on Amazon and ABC. We're not just making a timeline, though. It's more about looking at how his mindset, which seems kind of strategic, almost entrepreneurial from early on, helped him grab onto every creative chance he got.
Right. So let's just lay out the basics first, get everyone on the same page. Rick Glassman, born July 23, 1984. That makes him 41 now. American comedian, actor, writer, director. You probably know him from Undateable, playing Burski. But maybe more recently, his roles in, as we see it, as Jack Hoffman, incredible performance, and Edward in Not Dead Yet.
Okay, so we're going to unpack that whole journey right from the start in Ohio through the comedy scene, the sitcoms, and then really dig into how that personal diagnosis intersected with his art and led to this focus on authenticity on really big platforms.
Okay, so to really get Glassman, you got to look at where he started. This foundations. He's got those solid Midwest roots. The sources say born in Shaker Heights, which is pretty well-known Cleveland suburb. But he actually grew up right next door in Orange, another suburb. It might seem like a small detail, but that specific regional background often fosters a certain kind of resilience, maybe a practical approach to things.
Yeah, and that practicality, that kind of business sense, seems like it might run in the family. His background's diverse, father's Jewish, mother's Italian descent. But let's talk about his dad, Steve. There's an interesting detail in the sources about his career. He started out as a restaurateur, right? Before switching gears in the late 90s, became part owner of a carpet store, Marshall Carpet One, and Red Gallery in Mayfield Heights.
Exactly. And look, that carpet store detail, it sounds like just, trivia. But stick a pin in that because, as we'll see way later on, that specific family business, it actually weaves directly back into his creative work now out in LA. It suggests he had this early exposure to an owner's mentality, maybe. Not just doing a job, but like owning the whole thing.
Okay, interesting. Now, education. This period seems full of, well, not contradictions, but interesting paths not taken, right?
Yeah.
Before he fully committed to comedy, he graduated from Orange High School in 2002. And here's one of those amazing little details you find digging through sources. He played high school basketball.
Which is cool, yeah. But the really wild part is who his team played against. They competed directly against St. Mary High School, and who was leading that team at that exact time? LeBron James.
That's incredible. It's such a great image, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got this guy who's going to become known for this very self-aware, kind of awkward observational comedy.
Yeah.
And he's on a basketball court facing off against like the most hyped high school athlete maybe ever. It really highlights that early mix of, I don't know, competitiveness maybe,
Right.
and this eventual path into art that really values vulnerability.
Totally. But the path wasn't straight to comedy, not at first. He went to Kent State University, graduated in 2006, got a degree in marketing, which, that's about as practical and business-oriented as you can get. It's the safety net degree.
But hold on, so he's got the marketing degree sorted, maybe picking up business vibes from his family.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the sources say he was also taking theater classes while he was in college. So what happened right after graduation? That must have been a key decision point.
It really was. And the choice he made was, well, pretty bold, risk-taking. Our sources confirm it. After getting that marketing degree, he seriously considered law school.
Wow, law school.
Yeah, the ultimate stable, respectable path, right. But instead of hitting the LSAT books, he dives headfirst into stand-up. Did his first official gig at the Cleveland Improv in 2007.
That's a massive pivot. Like the complete 180 from law school.
Yeah.
It really suggests that maybe the creative or entrepreneurial drive was just stronger than the desire for security. But that marketing degree probably wasn't wasted, was it? That knowledge about branding, audience, that must have come in handy later when he started producing his own stuff. He knew how to sell himself, presumably.
Oh, absolutely. That strategic thinking definitely plays a role later. And that self-marketing needed a bigger platform pretty quickly. So 2008, he makes the move. The classic comedian pilgrimage to the West Coast, lands in Los Angeles. And, moving to LA is one thing, but actually getting stage time and building a reputation is tough. He managed it, though. Started performing regularly at the Comedy Store.
Right. And for anyone listening who doesn't know the LA scene, the Comedy Store isn't just some random club. It's legendary. It's intense. It's where you really have to prove yourself. Getting regular spots there means you're in the mix. You're getting seen by industry folks. You're honing your act under pressure. You have to figure out your voice fast.
And that work, that honing, it definitely paid off. 2013 was a big year for him. He got invited to the New Faces Showcase at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal. Now, for people outside the industry bubble, this isn't just another festival gig. This is the showcase.
Yes. Yeah, it's basically the industry saying, okay, pay attention to these people. Every agent, manager, casting director, producer, they're all watching New Faces. Getting picked means you're officially on the radar. You're tapped as someone likely to break into TV and film, like imminently.
Yeah.
It's a direct line from the club stage to the casting office.
So yeah, that New Faces spot was the rocket fuel, really. If part one was about, finding his feet on the comedy stage, part two is where he lands professionally in Hollywood, gets that foothold in the very competitive network sitcom world. And it happened pretty quickly after Montreal with the NBC show Undateable.
Okay, let's unpack this Undateable breakthrough, because the way it happened is kind of cool. It shows the power of just being seen, right? It wasn't like a huge cattle call audition process. The sources say Bill Lawrence, the creator of Scrubs, Ted Lasso, huge name. Yeah. He actually saw Glassman and Brett Morin performing live.
Yeah, just saw their set at the Hollywood Improv, and apparently, right then and there, invited both of them to audition for Undateable.
Wow.
And they both got it. Landed series, regular roles. They joined a pretty solid cast, too. Chris D'Elia was in it, Ron Funches, David Finn.
Glassman played Burski. He was one of the regulars at the bar that Brett Morin's character owned. He was on for all 36 episodes from 2014 to 2016. And something really interesting about Undateable, which maybe gets forgotten, is that final season. Season 3, they did the whole thing live, right?
Yeah, they did. Which is crucial, I think, for understanding Glassman's skill set. Doing a multicam sitcom live week after week, that's intense. It's like theater discipline meets stand-up timing and improv skills. You need serious confidence, chemistry with the cast. Skills he'd definitely been sharpening at the Comedy Store. It was basically performance boot camp.
But here's where it gets really interesting, where you see that maybe that marketing degree and that creator impulse kick in again. He didn't just settle into being Burski, the sixth lead on the call sheet. While Undateable was still on the air, he actually pitched an idea back to Bill Lawrence, and that idea became its own thing, an NBC-produced web series spinoff called The Sixth Lead.
Yes. This is such a key moment. He goes from being an actor in the show to being the creator of a related show. He didn't just wait for the next acting gig. He literally created one for himself, and one where he had total control. He wrote it, he directed it, and he starred in it. All 8 episodes.
And the concept was pretty meta, wasn't it? The sources describe it as being about his fictionalized day-to-day life as the sixth lead, dealing with the relative obscurity of being the lowest-billed guy on a hit show, and the style they compare it to. Curb Your Enthusiasm. That tells you a lot, right? Self-deprecating, awkward, observational.
Totally. It's brilliant, really, as a career move. It shows he understands how to take a potentially frustrating situation like maybe nobody recognizes you from the promo photos and spin it into gold. Into content.
Pure meta comedy. But okay, doing a show about being the least important guy on the main show, did that cause any weirdness, any friction with the rest of the Undateable cast?
It seems like it was the opposite, actually. Like it was an inside joke they were all in on. Bill Lawrence himself appeared in it. Other Undateable cast members popped up. Zach Braff was in it as himself. They all played versions of themselves, kind of reacting to Glassman's character's, ego or anxieties about his status. It almost validated him within that NBC world as someone who could create his own buzz.
And it wasn't just an inside joke. He took that web series, edited it down into a short film, and it won Best Short Film at the IFS Festival in 2016. That's the Independent Filmmakers Showcase in L.A. That award feels significant. It's external validation. He wasn't just the funny guy from the sitcom. Now he's an award-winning writer and director.
Exactly. That win coming right off the back of the sitcom really cemented him as a proper multi-hyphenate, someone who could generate his own material, direct it, star in it, and get recognized for it.
Okay, before we move into the next big phase, we should quickly mention he was also starting to stretch into different kinds of acting roles around this time, too, showing more range.
I'll get it.
He did guest spots, right? Adam Devine's House Party, The Comedians.
Yeah, but the really notable step, I think, was playing Harold Ramis. That was in the 2018 Netflix movie A Futile and Stupid Gesture about the founding of National Lampoon. Playing Ramis, I mean, that's comedy royalty, a legend known for being this quiet intellectual force. Taking on that role was a big leap. It moved Glassman beyond the kind of self-aware comedy of Burski or The Sixth Lead. It showed he could handle dramatic weight, portray a real complex person. It proved he had those dramatic chops.
Okay, so we've traced the path, right? Stand-up, sitcom success, even directing wins. He hit those conventional markers of success in Hollywood. But the thing that seems to have really catalyzed the next stage of his artistic evolution wasn't another role or another show. It was something deeply personal, a moment of self-discovery.
Yeah, this is where the story takes that profound turn we mentioned earlier. The professional arc kind of gets reshaped by the personal one. In the late 2010s, so well into his adulthood, Glassman was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome. Our sources consistently categorize him now as an artistic actor and American autistic person.
Getting a diagnosis like that as an adult, after you've spent decades just navigating the world without that specific framework,
Yeah.
it must be incredibly clarifying. He actually spoke about it really powerfully. Told Forbes the diagnosis brought this immense clarity. He said, all of these seemingly unrelated obstacles became patterns that made sense. And importantly, he added, it's something that I was and am proud of.
Right. And what's so compelling here is how quickly he seemed to integrate that new self-understanding into his professional life, into his art. For a lot of adults who get an autism diagnosis later in life, it helps explain maybe why certain social things felt harder or why some work environments were challenging. For Glassman, it seems like it also unlocked this deep artistic insight. It gave him the language, maybe the internal permission to tap into something really specific and authentic for his characters.
We should probably just quickly touch on the terminology for listeners. The diagnosis mentioned was Asperger syndrome, which, under current diagnostic standards, falls under the umbrella of autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. So in discussions about his work now, you often see him referred to as an autistic actor. And this clarity he gained, this self-knowledge, it became a strength, something he could actually use in his work.
And he applied it almost immediately and with huge impact. In 2022, he starred in that Amazon Prime video series, As We See It.
Oh yeah, great show.
Really great show. Based on an Israeli series called On the Spectrum, it follows three roommates who are all autistic, navigating work, friendship, love.
And the casting for As We See, it was a big deal, wasn't it? Because they made a point of casting autistic actors to play the autistic main characters, which brought this incredible layer of authenticity. Glassman played Jack Hoffman, one of the roommates, a series regular for all 8 episodes.
Exactly. And his performance as Jack, who's written as highly intelligent, very logical, but also quite rigid socially, it was widely praised. Critics singled it out for feeling so real, so grounded. This was a huge departure from, say, the broader comedy of Burski on Undateable. Now, he was working with such specificity, such nuance. He was clearly drawing on his own perspective, his lived experience to build that character.
And it wasn't just a one-time thing. This focus on authentic roles quickly became central to his public identity as an actor. It led directly to his next big network role, didn't it? On the ABC sitcom Not Dead Yet, which started in 2023.
That's right. In Not Dead Yet, which starred Gina Rodriguez, Glassman played Edward. And Edward, his character, was also explicitly written as autistic. He was the roommate of Gina Rodriguez's character, a series regular again. The show ran for 2 seasons, just wrapped up in 2024.
So when you connect those dots, As We See It, and then Not Dead Yet, the pattern is really clear. He goes from playing more general characters to taking on these 2 major high-profile roles where the character's identity is explicitly autistic, mirroring his own recent diagnosis. But I wonder, is there a risk there? The risk of being typecast, maybe, playing 2 prominent autistic characters back-to-back. How does an actor balance that kind of authenticity with wanting artistic range?
That's a really valid question. It's something actors who find success playing very specific types always have to navigate. But the sense you get from the sources and from how he talks about it is that for him, right now, the importance of owning that narrative, of pushing for authentic representation, that seems to outweigh the fear of being pigeonholed. You could argue that by being an openly autistic actor playing these roles, he's actually redefining what range means for him. His range isn't just about accents or genres. It's about the incredible depth and honesty he brings to representing a community, using his unique perspective as his primary acting tool.
That's a powerful way to frame it. He basically took something personal, something maybe seen as a challenge, and turned it into the absolute core strength of his most visible work. That's taking self-knowledge and making a professional asset.
Right. And while those big acting roles on Amazon and ABC give him that mainstream visibility, we also see Glassman, the creator, the entrepreneur, still very much at work,
Mm.
controlling his own platform, which brings us to his podcasting work. This is where those directing and production skills, the ones we saw emerge with the sixth lead, really continue to shine.
Yeah, let's talk about Take Your Shoes Off, or TYSO. That's his podcast, started in 2019. On the surface, it's interviews, right? Mostly long-form chats with comedians, people in the industry.
It is, but it's how he does it that's so unique. He completely refuses to just do the standard podcast format. You know, two people, two mics, maybe a static camera shot. This is where his comedy timing meets those directing and editing chops he honed. The sources point this out. Often, right in the middle of a conversation, he'll suddenly cut away. He'll superimpose these bizarre digital animations or cut to these highly stylized, almost surreal dramatized scenes featuring him and his guest.
Right. It's not just like adding a funny sound effect. It's way more elaborate. Like if a guest says something that confuses him, it's something kind of weird, he might suddenly cut to this short animated sketch where they're like in a spaceship arguing about it. Or maybe it's suddenly film noir lighting and he's interrogating them.
Sure.
It's a total commitment to the bit, whatever that bit is. It makes the show stand out visually and tonally in the, let's face it, very crowded podcast space.
Totally. It elevates the whole thing. It's not just a recorded conversation. It's a produced piece. It reinforces that identity we talked about, the creator who demands full control over the style and the edit. And it goes back to that strategic mindset too, right? He's making content that's memorable, shareable, distinctly his.
And speaking of branding and strategy and things coming full circle, this is where we get that amazing connection between part one, his early life, and this current creative work. His podcast, TYSO, features advertisements that he directs himself for Marshall Carpet One and Rug Gallery.
Yes, this is the detail we flagged earlier. That is the exact same carpet store co-owned by his dad, Steve, back in Ohio.
It's incredible.
It's such a fascinating, deliberate link. Think about it. This guy starred on NBC, starred on an Amazon drama, won awards for directing his own spinoff, and he's also serving as the creative director, basically, for his family's local carpet business back in Mayfield Heights, making their commercials.
It perfectly merges the marketing degree with the directing talent. He's using his LA platform, his skills, his name recognition to make high-quality ads for the very business that maybe gave him his first glimpse of entrepreneurship. It closes this professional loop in a way you rarely see from people who found success in Hollywood. He really does seem to have that owner's mindset about everything he does.
Absolutely. It shows he operates with this fierce independence. Doesn't matter if the platform is huge, like network TV, or loose like a podcast, or even a local business ad. He's controlling the creative, he's generating different revenue streams, and he's keeping that connection to his roots alive.
So just to round things out,
Yeah.
what else has he been up to lately on screen? He's still taking on interesting supporting roles, right? Like in that Netflix movie, Old Dads from 2023,
Yeah.
played Hunter Lewis.
Yep. And he also had a role as Nico in an episode of that 2024 show, Nobody Wants This. But, adding to the list of unexpected income streams, we can't forget the McDonald's commercials.
Right.
Our sources mentioned 6 McDonald's commercials he was involved with.
6 of them, mostly voiceover work.
5 voiceovers, yeah, and 1 where he actually appeared on camera.
That's just the reality of the working actor, the working multi-hyphenate, isn't it?
That kind of consistent commercial work, it provides the financial stability that lets you take risks on the more personal passion projects like 2YSO or those deeply authentic roles like Jack Hoffman. It all fits together. Hashtag outro.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize all this.
Right.
What's the big picture takeaway from Rick Glassman's career so far? We started with this young guy in Ohio, maybe thinking about law school, then boom, sharp pivot into stand-up comedy, grinding it out in Cleveland, then LA, finds that big break on a network sitcom, Undateable, as the quote-unquote 6th lead.
Yeah.
But then, crucially, he doesn't just ride that wave, he immediately uses that platform to write, direct, and star in his own award-winning meta-series, The 6th Lead. He takes control. Right. But the biggest transformation, the real hinge point, wasn't professional, it was personal. It was that adult diagnosis of Asperger syndrome, understanding himself as autistic. And instead of seeing that as, a barrier or something private, he integrated it directly into his work. That self-knowledge became the bedrock for his most powerful, most acclaimed roles to date on major platforms like Amazon and ABC. It wasn't a limitation, it was his unique strength.
Exactly. So the thread running through it all, I think, is this power of knowledge and control. Whether it was the market knowledge from his degree, or the stage knowledge from stand-up, or ultimately the self-knowledge from his diagnosis, he consistently takes insight, personal or professional, and applies it directly to create something tangible, something uniquely his. His path really underscores the value of embracing your whole self, complexities and all, as your most valuable asset in whatever you do.
Yeah, that journey from playing basketball against LeBron in high school to eventually directing commercials for his dad's carpet store, all while starring in these really significant representation-pushing dramas based on his own experience.
Hmm.
It's a remarkable story of creative ownership.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We've seen how Rick Glassman's diagnosis, something unexpected discovered in adulthood, brought this immense clarity and directly fueled his most distinctive work recently. So the question is, how might you or how might others leverage your own deeply personal experiences? Maybe obstacles you've overcome, unexpected insights you've gained about yourself, passions you thought were unrelated to your real job. How could that kind of unique self-knowledge be channeled to create completely new, maybe more authentic and powerful opportunities in whatever field you're in? Something to think about.